Ever think about just how much one vitamin can impact your body? Like, really.
It's wild, right?
Today, we're going to be looking at vitamin D in a whole new light. And it's way beyond just, strong bones.
Yeah, way beyond.
You actually sent us some info about this. Looks like we're headed down a rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, buckle up. This is a deep one.
Okay, so you know how we love to dig into the details? We're looking at this video you shared, how vitamin D affects every organ and tissue.
Mm,
Talk about a bold statement.
right.
It basically claims that vitamin D affects like almost every single system in your body.
Every single
Yeah, is
system.
that even possible?
You know what? It's not as far-fetched as it sounds. The thing is, scientists have actually found vitamin D receptors in almost every cell of the human body.
Wait, really? So it's legit. It's not just some marketing hype.
No, not hype. Think of it this way. Vitamin D is less like a simple vitamin, and it's more like a powerful hormone. It directly impacts how our genes behave.
Okay.
And get this, a surprising 3 to 4% of our entire genome is regulated by vitamin D.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal, and researchers are finding more and more evidence to back this up.
Okay, so you've definitely got my attention.
Yeah.
Let's break this whole thing down. Where do we even start?
Well, this video dives right into the brain, which I think is a great place to begin. Vitamin D, it plays a really big role in keeping our brains functioning at their best.
Okay, the brain it is. One thing that stood out to me in the video was the connection between vitamin D deficiency and poor sleep. It even mentioned something called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which, I'll be honest, sounds incredibly complex.
It does sound complex, but it's actually pretty straightforward. Think of it like your brain's internal clock.
Uh-huh.
It's the part of the brain that regulates those sleep-wake cycles. And recent research suggests that vitamin D might play a role in how well that clock actually functions.
So that sluggish feeling you get when you're low on vitamin D, that's not just in your head. It could actually be like messing with your brain's ability to sleep properly.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just sleep. The video also highlights a link to mood disorders, particularly seasonal affective disorder, SAD.
Which makes sense, right? Less sunlight in the winter, lower vitamin D, bam, winter blues.
You got it. Reduced sunlight exposure during those shorter days, it can lead to those dips in vitamin D. And since we know vitamin D plays a role in mood regulation, some studies suggest that vitamin D supplements might actually help alleviate some of those SAD symptoms.
Interesting.
Of course, like with many things, health and nutrition, more research is always needed.
Right, of course. So we're talking about potentially better sleep, brighter moods. What else does this video say about vitamin D in the brain?
Well, the video also touches on the potential impact of vitamin D on cognitive function, even mentioning conditions like Alzheimer's and dementia.
Wait, seriously, so you're telling me something as simple as vitamin D could have an effect on those diseases?
It's an area of ongoing research, and we definitely don't want to oversimplify things. A direct causal link hasn't been firmly established yet, but more and more observational studies are showing a correlation between lower vitamin D levels and an increased risk of cognitive decline as we age.
Wow, that is fascinating. So potentially, making sure we're getting the vitamin D could be one factor in protecting our brain health as we get older.
It's a possibility, but it's important to remember that cognitive decline is incredibly complex and involves numerous factors.
Right, of course. So not a guaranteed cure-all, but definitely something to, keep in mind.
Yeah, definitely something to keep in mind.
So we've covered how vital vitamin D is for our brains.
Mm.
Where does this deep dive take us next?
From the brain, the video shifts its focus to the impact of vitamin D on our hair and skin. And it makes some pretty intriguing claims about its role in these areas as well.
Okay, so this is the part that initially, caught my eye, too. I mean, hair loss, dryness, skin conditions like eczema and vitiligo. The video even links vitamin D to skin cancer. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It's definitely a lot to unpack. Let's start with hair loss. So vitamin D, it plays a crucial role in the hair follicle life cycle. And research suggests that deficiencies may contribute to hair shedding or thinning, especially for individuals with underlying conditions.
So if you're noticing more hair in your brush than usual, could low vitamin D be a culprit?
Possibly. Now, when it comes to skin conditions like eczema and vitiligo, which the video also mentioned, there's a growing body of evidence suggesting a link between those conditions and, you guessed it, low vitamin D.
So what is it about vitamin D that could impact these skin conditions? Like, what's the connection?
Well, both eczema and vitiligo are linked to dysregulation of the immune system. And as we're learning, vitamin D is a potent anti-inflammatory. It plays a significant role in modulating our immune response, so it helps keep things in check.
Okay.
And this ability to regulate the immune system, it could potentially reduce the inflammation associated with these skin conditions.
Hold on. So we're talking about one vitamin impacting the immune system so much that it could even play a role in managing skin conditions.
Yeah.
This is way more than just sunshine and strong bones.
Exactly. And this is where the video really dives deep, focusing on vitamin D's critical importance to something called the thymus gland.
Okay, I'm going to need you to break that one down for me. The thymus gland, what's so
Yeah.
special about it?
Think of the thymus gland as like boot camp for your immune system.
Okay.
It's where T cells, which are essential for fighting off infections and diseases, it's where they mature and learn to recognize threats.
So vitamin D is basically helping to train our immune cells to be effective. That's pretty incredible.
Precisely. And it goes even further. Remember those vitamin D receptors we talked about?
Hmm.
They're found on pretty much every immune cell, influencing both our innate immune response, which is what we're born with, and our acquired immune response, which develops over time.
Wow, it's like this one vitamin is conducting our entire immune system.
That's a great way to put it. And speaking of immune responses, the video also brought up cytokine storms, which sound kind of terrifying, to be honest.
Yeah, that definitely caught my attention too. What are cytokine storms exactly?
Essentially, a cytokine storm is like your immune system going into overdrive. Like it's a massive overreaction. It releases this flood of inflammatory molecules that can be incredibly dangerous.
Wow.
And some promising research suggests that vitamin D might be able to help modulate that immune response, potentially helping to prevent these severe reactions.
Okay, you've officially changed how I view vitamin D. This is way more than just something extra we get from the sun.
It's true, and it gets even more fascinating.
All right, I'm ready. Hit me with your best shot. What else does this vitamin superstar do?
This vitamin D deep dive has only just begun. From the immune system, we move on to other essential systems, like our eyes. Do you know that vitamin D deficiency has been linked to eye health as well?
You know, for as much as I thought I knew about vitamin D, this video is full of surprises. What does it say about vitamin D in our eyes?
Well, the video highlights a potential link between vitamin D deficiency and an increased risk of developing certain eye conditions.
Like what? Give me some examples.
We're talking cataracts, macular degeneration, even glaucoma.
Okay, I gotta say, the idea that low vitamin D could actually impact our eyes like that is kind of wild. Is there actually, research to support those claims, or is this stretching things a bit?
It's definitely an area of active research, and while we always need more studies, there is a growing body of evidence that suggests a real connection between our vitamin D levels and our overall eye health.
Seriously, it
Yeah.
really makes you wonder, what doesn't this vitamin do?
Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's important to remember that just because two things are, correlated, doesn't necessarily mean that one directly causes the other, but it's still super fascinating to explore these connections. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so we've covered the brain, skin, hair, immune system, even our eyes. Where does this vitamin D train take us next?
Well, the video takes us on a bit of a whirlwind tour from here, highlighting a bunch of other organs and systems where, vitamin D is present and potentially influential. We touch on the thyroid, teeth, and bones.
Hold on. Teeth and bones. I get the bone connection right. We've all heard about vitamin D and strong bones, but teeth. This video actually claims that being vitamin D deficient can lead to crooked teeth.
Yeah, that does sound a little out there, doesn't it? While it is true that vitamin D is super important for calcium absorption, which is, of course, essential for healthy bone development, including the jaw, attributing crooked teeth solely to vitamin D deficiency, it's a bit of an oversimplification.
Okay, so there's more to the story.
Exactly. It's about recognizing vitamin D as one factor within, a much more complex system. Genetics, dietary habits, good old-fashioned oral hygiene, those all play a role in dental health too.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So it's not like if you miss a few days of sunshine, your teeth are suddenly going to start shifting.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, so besides teeth and bones, what other stops does this vitamin D train make?
Well, the video goes on to discuss the lungs, muscles, adrenal glands, pancreas, heart, liver, kidneys, gut, reproductive system, even joints. It suggests vitamin D plays a role in the health and function of, well, all of them.
Whoa, okay, that's a lot to take in. It almost feels like too much for one single vitamin to handle. Are we sure this video isn't, maybe exaggerating things a little bit?
It's always a good idea to approach claims like these with a little bit of healthy skepticism.
Right.
While we know that vitamin D receptors are indeed found in all of these organs and tissues, the, extent of its influence and the real-world significance of deficiencies are still being actively researched.
So it's not necessarily that the video is wrong, it's just maybe a tad enthusiastic.
Exactly. Okay. It's great to be intrigued by these connections, and we definitely are. But, as always, it's important to look at the bigger picture and consider all of the scientific evidence.
Good advice. Speaking of the bigger picture, there was this one part in the video that I wanted to get your take on. It was that anecdote about the doctor who delivered babies and had some, shall we say, strong opinions on prenatal vitamins.
Oh, yeah.
What did you make of that?
That was an interesting segment. I think the doctor's experience really highlighted this whole ongoing debate surrounding synthetic versus natural vitamins.
Right. He seemed totally convinced that synthetic vitamins were just as good as getting those vitamins from natural sources, like food.
Right. And that's where things get a little nuanced. While it's true that synthetic vitamins are often chemically identical to the vitamins that are found naturally in food, the way our bodies absorb and utilize them can differ.
So it's not as simple as just popping a pill and assuming our bodies are getting everything they need?
Not necessarily. Our bodies thrive on this complex interplay of nutrients found in whole foods. And while synthetic vitamins can be helpful in, filling specific nutritional gaps, they might not provide the same synergistic benefits that we get from a balanced whole food diet.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The doctor also seemed to kind of dismiss the idea that certain forms of vitamins might be better than others. Is there any truth to that?
That's a topic worthy of its own deep dive.
Right.
There is a growing body of research exploring all the different forms of vitamins and, their bioavailability, which is how well our bodies can actually absorb and use them.
Right.
For example, vitamin D3 is often considered to be more readily absorbed and utilized by our bodies than vitamin D2.
So many nuances. It's a lot to keep track of.
Absolutely. That's why, at the end of the day, a balanced diet that's rich in a variety of nutrient-dense whole foods, that's always the best foundation for good health.
Good old-fashioned food. Who knew?
It's easy to get, caught up in the excitement of individual nutrients like vitamin D. But our bodies are complex systems, and they really function best when we nourish them with a variety of foods.
Speaking of which, at the very end, the video briefly mentions another vitamin, vitamin K, and even suggests looking into it alongside vitamin D.
That's right. Vitamin D and K, they actually work together in a synergistic way, especially when it comes to bone health.
Looks like we've got another deep dive on our hands. We'll have to add that to the list. But before we wrap up this vitamin D adventure, any other key takeaways you think our listeners should keep in mind?
I think this video serves as a fantastic springboard for further research. It's sparked a lot of curiosity, and that's always a good thing.
I couldn't agree more. So we've learned that vitamin D is so much more than just the sunshine vitamin. It's like this fundamental hormone with far-reaching impacts on our health and well-being. It's true. We've uncovered some pretty wild stuff about vitamin D today.
Yeah.
Almost like it's a secret superhero working behind the scenes in our bodies.
I like that.
Yeah.
And it really begs the question, if vitamin D is so crucial for so many systems, why aren't we hearing more about it?
Right. It's like it's been hiding in plain sight all along.
Right.
Is it possible that we are totally underestimating how important it really is?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's definitely, a growing awareness of vitamin D's significance, both in the medical community and just among the public.
Yeah.
But you're right, it hasn't always gotten the attention it deserves.
So why do you think that is? Any theories? Why it's been kind of overlooked for so long?
Well, one factor could be that, vitamin D deficiency often presents with symptoms that are, kind of vague.
Vague how? What do you mean?
Think like fatigue, muscle weakness, low energy.
Okay.
Those are all things that could be attributed to a ton of different issues, which makes it tougher to pinpoint, vitamin D deficiency as a root cause.
So it's not always a clear-cut case of oh, I'm low on vitamin D, that's why I feel this way?
Exactly. Yeah, it can be a lot more subtle than that. And that can make it tricky to diagnose. Plus, research into optimal vitamin D levels and specific supplement recommendations, that's still ongoing. There's not always a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
And I think that can be confusing for people who are just trying to, like, figure out their health.
Totally. It makes sense that with more research to be done,
Yeah.
and then those like less defined symptoms, it might just like totally fly under the radar for some people.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, hopefully this deep dive will at least like, help to like shine a light on just how important it is and get people like interested in learning more.
Definitely. Knowledge is power.
It really is. So as we wrap up this like fascinating exploration of vitamin D, what's like the one thing you hope our listener walks away with today?
If there's just one takeaway I hope sticks with our listener, it's that, vitamin D, it's so much more than just the sunshine vitamin. It's truly a fundamental hormone that impacts a remarkable number of bodily systems.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really, really does. It's not just about strong bones anymore.
Not at all.
It's about supporting our overall health and well-being, like from the inside out.
Absolutely, yeah. And while more research is, always needed and it's always ongoing,
Right.
this deep dive really highlights just how important it is to be aware of vitamin D and, all its potential implications.
Couldn't have said it better myself. A huge thank you to our expert for illuminating this topic, and to you, our amazing listeners, for sending us down this rabbit hole. We love exploring with you. Be sure to check out our show notes for links to further reading and resources all about vitamin D. Until next time, stay curious.